the sound of bare feet scraping across cold marble. Year 89 CE. You're standing in a Roman atrium, pressed flat against the wall with 6 others. You don't speak. You don't move. You're here for one reason: to witness. In the center of the room stands a girl, 18, wrapped in a bridal veil, completely still, like she's already turned to stone. In front of her, something waits beneath a dark cloth. Behind her, a physician holds a leather case filled with instruments. And beside her, an older woman grips her arm so tightly, it's clear this isn't guidance. It's control. There is no leaving this room. This morning, the girl's mother braided her hair with shaking hands. She cried the entire time. And before they took her away, she whispered only one thing: do not resist. No matter what happens, do not resist. It only makes it worse. Now the girl reaches forward. Her fingers tremble as she pulls back the cloth. What's underneath? Carved from dark wood, polished by generations before her, drains the color from her face. But she doesn't understand yet. That is only the beginning, because next comes the examination, then the witnessing, then the act that will legally transform her from a person into property. For centuries, this was the reality of Roman marriage. Every bride, every family, every time. And when a new religion rose and reshaped the empire, this entire ritual was buried so deeply, it almost vanished from history. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear has been hidden for nearly 2,000 years. And once you understand it, you'll understand why. This is the truth about Roman wedding nights. Now go back to the atrium, back to the girl beneath the veil. Her name is Flavia Tirsa, 18 years old, daughter of a minor official who spent years arranging this marriage. Her husband, Marcus Petronius Rufus, 43, wealthy, connected, useful. She met him only a handful of times before today. Love had nothing to do with it. In Rome, marriage wasn't about love. It was law. It was contract. It was transfer. And Flavia was the asset being transferred. That morning, everything looked beautiful. The veil, the braids, the rituals. Priests examined sacrifices. The omens were declared favorable. Her father spoke the words that sealed the agreement. And Flavia repeated the ancient phrase, "Where you are, I am." It sounded poetic, but what it really meant was simple. She no longer belonged to herself. The streets were loud as she was led to her new home. Crowds sang, but not blessings. Crude songs, explicit, describing exactly what would happen to her that night. Men laughed. Women threw nuts as symbols of fertility. Her mother walked beside her in silence. No comfort, no reassurance. Just that warning echoing again and again. Do not resist. By nightfall, they reached the house. Torchlight flickered against the walls. The doorway stood open, and inside, too many people. Far too many. This wasn't private. This was a procedure. When the doors closed, Flavia saw them clearly. The matron overseeing everything. Priest. Servants with water and cloth. Physician. And in the corner, that covered shape. Waiting, the matron steps forward. Takes Flavia's hands. Firm. Unyielding. The rites must be completed. Here's the truth most people never hear. Roman marriage wasn't a union. It was a transfer of authority. From father to husband, a woman passed from one hand into another. And like any transfer of value, it had to be verified, witnessed, confirmed. That's why the ritual existed. That's why the room was full. That's why there were eyes watching every moment. The cloth is removed, the figure revealed, and the room becomes impossibly silent. This was not symbolic. This was not optional. This was part of the system. And finally, the last stage, the chamber, the door left open, the witnesses nearby, nothing hidden, nothing private. Hours pass. Morning comes. The final verification is complete. And with it, Flavia Tirsa ceases to exist as she once was. She is now a wife, recognized, recorded, transferred, She will live decades more, raise children, run a household, play her role perfectly, and never speak of that night, not once, because in Rome, this was normal. For generations, women lived this reality, accepted it, passed it down, not because it was right, but because it was all they knew. And then slowly, it disappeared, not reformed, not debated, erased, the statues destroyed, the texts forgotten, the rituals buried beneath new beliefs, until only fragments remained. But fragments are enough to see what was done, enough to understand the silence, because history doesn't always vanish. Sometimes, it's hidden. Flavia was real, so were the countless others. Their stories weren't written, but they existed, they endured, and for centuries, no one spoke for them,